Hi, and welcome to the new episode of Spectral Evidence in the brand new studio here in Hudson, New Hampshire. I personally, I'm sure Harry does too, would like to thank everyone who was part of this.
Definitely.
You really went above and beyond.
He did. He even has a T-shirt on.
He's a brown noser.
Yep.
But tonight we're going to welcome back a guest of ours who was here for her first book. Now she has her second book out, Spooky, Creepy New England. Karen Mossey, how are you?
I'm fine. New book is called Spooky, Creepy New England 2, number 2.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, other than writing a new book, what have you been up to since the last time you were on the show?
Well, writing a new book is a big challenge and a lot of effort, and every time you finish one, you swear you're never going to do another one because it's such a grueling task. But when you see it come out in print and you see a lot of good reviews, it makes it all worthwhile. In this second book that I have out, we not only have incorporated a lot of the new paranormal adventures that we've been on, investigations and adventures that we've been on, but we also have some personal encounters from different folks that I talk to about, their actual ghostly encounters or supernatural encounters. We even have in this book a story about a friend who lost a cat that she had for a long, long time, and all the supernatural things that were going on in her house after the animal passed away. Toys showing up near the foot of her bed, like this precious stone was her name, always used to do, place them there. And so it kind of tells us that our animal friends are still with us in some way, shape, or form, spirit, after they pass away from their physical existence. So the book contains some really heart-wrenching, but, very, supernatural, spooky, creepy stories from personal accounts that people have had, in addition to investigations.
Now, when you're in an investigation, your specialty is EVPs.
Yes.
Have you ever had an animal EVP?
Yes, I've had barking dogs come through. When I did an investigation at the Tenney Gatehouse, I captured a dog barking on my recorder, and it would have been something that would have occurred at that, during the time when the Tenney Gatehouse was an actual gatehouse. It was the passageway. People had to go through the gatehouse in order to get to the mansion that was on Great Court Mansion, that was on the top of the hill. They would pass through the gatehouse first, so would have figured that they would have had a dog there, and in the 1800s, and I did capture that on my EVP recorder, my digital recorder. So you can capture animal spirits as well. I remember one time my dog, he was still with me at the time, was barking in the backyard, and I was actually inside the house working on analysis of some of the recordings that I had got from an investigation, and I happened to have my recorder running, and when I played it back, it was my father's voice, who had passed away in 2002, and he said in an EVP recording, "Get the dog." And the dog, you could hear the dog barking out there because it was way past his time to come in the house. And I thought it was so interesting because he was well aware that the dog was still outside. Kind of pay attention, get the dog, bring him in. So you get some EVP that are directly interactive with you in real time, and then you get some recordings that are actual residual from the time period that was predominant to the location. So it's very extensive. There's so many different variations of EVP that we record. But for example, in this book, when we were doing Eggy's Diner in Atkinson, we were getting some EVP that were very ancient, and it's believed, the psychic that we had with us believed that it was on very Indian, culture had been on the land before. So we were getting EVP from all different time periods, some that, seemed to be from the 1800s, some that seemed to be from the 1700s. Some we recorded in the basement that said, it was cold, get the wood, bring in the wood, it's getting cold, so they were, using wood to heat the house. So it was a very interesting investigation, a lot of things were going on there at Eggy's Diner. And even customers that go there to eat have reported some of their silverware being displaced, even before, breakfast is served or whatever, the spoon
They
that was
steal it,
there over there. Say again?
They steal it. I mean, that's what Harry does.
Oh, yeah, the salt and pepper.
But it's an interesting place, and a lot of these places are open to the public. They're public places where they, are restaurants where they serve, breakfast, lunch, or whatever. So, I encourage anyone that reads the book and wants to check out these places to see if perhaps something paranormal might happen to them to go visit these places. We've
Now,
got.
Karen, is there a favorite place in the book that you visit and you keep going back, or?
Oh, yeah. Well, for example, one of my favorite places is around this local area right in Nashua is Fody's Tavern. They got a great burger on Sunday, $4.99 hamburger. You get a hamburger. It's nice on a fresh bun and French fries, and it's a great atmosphere. Fody's Tavern was previously known as The Tavern.
Right.
It's been in Nashua a long, long time. I remember as a young girl driving in the 60s and first got my license in the 60s and 70s. My dad used to say, stay away from that place when you go to Nashua. That's not a good place. It was a brothel. It was a brothel for a long, long time. It originally sat where the Hunt Library is, close in proximity to that. And they actually dragged that building across the street to where it is now. Are you familiar with where Fody's is in Nashua? Mm-hmm. Well, it's just a wonderful location. You got the Layton Hotel in the front, and then you got The Tavern. And I think it's the original sign up on top of it. But then underneath you got Fody's, all right, Fody's. And it's a big clubbing spot on Friday nights and Saturday nights. They got karaoke in there and comedians and young people go in there, and it's, But the history of that place is phenomenal. And if you go in there on a Sunday to get that awesome burger, the wait staff is happy to talk to you about all the paranormal activity.
Are you going to get a free hamburger?
Have I ever gotten
Because
one?
the way you're selling it,
Yeah.
are they a sponsor?
They should, right? But it's worth it. For $4.99, I don't even care paying for
Does
it.
it come with a pickle?
Huh?
Does it come with a pickle?
Come with pickles, whatever you want. The service is great. They got a great IPA on draft. That's the only type of beer I like is IPA. And the atmosphere is tremendous. They got these old pictures on the wall, all right, of the history, and things that used to be there. But more than all that, getting back to the spooky creepiness, all right, of Fody's Tavern. This place has a history that's incredible, all right? It has been a brothel. It has been a place of ill repute for a long, long time. Even back in the 1800s, some of the richer clientele would go there, to have a little delight, or whatever. A little delight, afternoon delight, midnight delight, whatever, all right? Now, there's a lot of legends surrounding Fody's Tavern. Legends, for example, like there was a prostitute there that had her young son with her, and both of them were shot and killed there. I remember even, physicians having to go in there and pronounce people even back in the 70s. Drug overdoses. It just didn't have a very good reputation as a place to be, all right? Unless you were, of that
So did
Hi.
you get any EVPs in there?
Listen to this.
Oh, I'm waiting.
My good friend Debbie Constantino, who's been on, Debbie and Mark have been on Ghost Adventures. They're also very great EVP specialists and kind of celebrity category now, being with, Zach Bagans on Ghost Adventures and everything. Zach would call him in to do EVP. But, Mike and I worked extensively with Mark and Debbie on EVP, recording and everything. But they visited us one time up here in New Hampshire, and Debbie and I says, I'm going to take you out to Fody's Tavern. Can you take me to a place that's like really haunted? So,
Being a good burger.
Let's go to Fody's. So we went to Fody's, and we're talking to the manager there at the time, and she told me the story. She said one night she was closing, and she was the last one in the building, and she was making sure everything was tight and sealed and closed up and everything, and somebody walked up right behind her and put his hand right on her shoulder. Her, you have it, I don't know. And she turned around, knowing she was the only one there, and there was no one there. She said it was one of the scariest experiences she ever had because it was so real. That hand was on her shoulder, and it turned her around. And she refused to close. She's still the manager over there. Her name's Jen or something. Go talk to her. Experiences are still going on. But she told Debbie and I that we could go up only to the top of the stairs and sit there and do some recordings or listen. While we were there, we heard footsteps walking around beyond that closed and locked door. And we took some pictures. We got several extremes of like mist going down the stairs. Even better, after Debbie left, she was thrilled. We got some great evidence. But after Debbie left, I left my name and number with the manager there, and I got a call from a television production guy, and he said, we're going to be shooting a movie up on the, second and third floor, and, we'd like to invite you if you're interested. I know you say you always want to get up there. It's closed off to the public. The second, third, fourth floor, it's all closed off because there's a lot of damage up there and needs to all be a lot of renovation. Only Fody's is on the bottom, first floor. But this was a golden opportunity for me to get up there and actually see these rooms. This was so amazing. I mean, they were shooting, and they allowed us to go around. I took my son Alex with me, and actually allowed us to go into these rooms. And that's where I showed you that. Remember,
Yep.
Harry, that stove leg
The
that
stove leg, yep.
I saw, and the old Bible. They used to put the Bible, Gideon's Bibles, in hotel rooms and everything. But these rooms were really sad. I mean, these rooms were tiny. Some of them only had a toilet and a sink, no shower, all right? And it was like room after room after room, go to the next floor, room after room after room after room. You can just imagine what went on there. Not only deaths from drug overdoses, or perhaps the legend of the woman and her son is true, but there were so many deaths in this place. It's got to be haunted. It's got to be. So
Yeah,
that's
but
one
did
of
you
the.
get any EVPs? Like all of a sudden, oh, I swear, baby, this never happened before.
Yeah.
Anything like that?
The EVPs we got there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got great EVPs. If you want, you can go to my website, mine and Mike's website, which is, let everybody know. It's also in the book. It's www.ectoweb, all one word, ectoweb.com. And you can click on cases, go to famous places, and then you go, there's some that say restaurants, and Fody's is right there. The whole write-up's there. The EVPs, you can listen to them. Some of the pictures we got there, great. Just great. I encourage you to check out the website as well as, if you want to read about it, and check out the book. Each story in this book, it's kind of really neat the way they did it. Each story in this book kind of starts off with an EVP. You know, for example, here we went back to the Wyndham restaurant in Wyndham, New Hampshire, very, very haunted place. And it'll start off the story with a little EVP we captured. This one says, "We need help." We get that a lot in EVP, them crying out for help. "God, help me, I'm cold." I recorded that. That's also in this book on the New London Ledge Lighthouse. I was standing on the edge of the lighthouse, and legend, I can tell you about that legend too, has it that there was a family that took their boat out with their young daughter, and they got caught in a storm. And the boat washed back up on shore, and some people saw a young girl walking around on the shore, and they turned around, and she was gone. The lighthouse keeper said that he had welcomed two people. They were very, very wet onto the lighthouse. They had said they had been in a boating accident and were wondering if they could, you know, just seek shelter there before, you know, he could get them help to get them, you know, back onto the shore. And he helped them both onto the lighthouse, and when he turned around, there was no one there. And they found all three, and they had all perished in that storm from the boat. But I had been standing, and there's a picture in this book of me standing near where that EVP was captured. And I got this very bone-chilling EVP that says, "Help me, I'm cold." And that can also be heard on the website. We record that often. We record, "Help me, God help me." As I said, "Help me, I'm cold." We also record, another phrase that we record often in EVP is, "What's happening?" What happened? We turn on the recorders, and I'm going to show you a couple examples of recorders that we use often in our investigations. And one of the first EVP we often get is, "What happened? What's happening?" As if something, when we turn on these recorders, something disrupts the dimension. Something causes some type of a static discharge, like we would say if all of a sudden we heard this like sonic boom from a plane, but we don't see the plane anywhere. We just hear the aftermath of that sonic boom, and we're like, "Whoa, what happened? What was that?" So I think something electronical happens. Something happens in the dimension when we turn on these electronic devices that triggers them to say, "What's happening?" And then you get these pops, clicks, precursor sounds that happen a lot just before an EVP will come through, and then you get an EVP, most often seconds long, you know, because it takes an awful lot of energy to project that through. And we hear them most often, commonly on playback, because they come in at a frequency that's lower than our hearing. All right, maybe an animal might hear it. That's why they say animals are much more perceptive, because their hearing is much more perceptive than ours. Pay attention to your animals if you feel something suspicious or supernatural is going on in your house, because they sense it first. Cats have the best peripheral vision in the world. They see it. They can hear it too, but dogs have incredible hearing. So more often than not, we capture these voices on playback. Sometimes when the energy is really, really, really pronounced in a haunted location, we might hear these disembodied voices live. This recorder here is the infamous DR60. When Mike and I first started recording for EVP, we could get these on eBay for $20. They're so rare now that you can see them go up. I just saw one sell on eBay recently for $385. That guy was lucky, because they can even go up to $500. One guy is out of control. He puts his up there for $1,500 all the time. No one bids on it, but he still puts it up. I mean, these are notoriously known for getting EVP because they are very lousy recorders. Okay, it was one of the first recorders Panasonic ever made. And people started buying them, using them for college lectures or what have you. And on playback, they would find all these disembodied voices on it, all right, these voices that were not supposed to be there. And they returned them to Panasonic as defective. Well, people way back when, started saying, well, really, that we're doing EVP research. Let me get my hand on one of these and see what's really going on with these. And they were actually recording these EVP voices. So this was one of the first recorders that came out, very hard to come by now. Panasonic discontinued making them. We have begged them to get out their schematics and start making them again for people that do paranormal research, and they won't do it. So they're worth a lot now. They're very hard to come by. And people are getting big bucks for them on eBay. I'm glad to have one. As a matter of fact, I have a few. Because Mike and I were getting them relatively cheap way back when. Now they're untouchable, but they get very good EVP voices. The static in them, the white noise in it, is very, very predominant in these recording devices. It's very noisy. And the noisier the recorder, the more they have to work with. All right, this is another one. It's hard to get, but you can still get them. This is a Sony B7, all right, a Sony B7. This one doesn't have what they call Vox on it, which is called voice activation. So it's hard, if you put it in a haunted location and just put it down, it's going to continue to run, no matter whether there's noise or no noise. So it makes it hard for an EVP specialist to analyze it when we go and put it into our computer, because there's a lot to analyze, and a lot to go through. Whereas the DR60 and a level up from this, the Sony B17, which is also hard to get. But you can still get them, but you're going to pay for them. This one I think I paid $10 for. They're great for recording EVP voices because they're lousy recorders. They got a lot of static in them. They got a lot of noise in them. But it's always best to get a voice-activated recorder because you could put it down in a quiet location, and it's not going to advance unless it hears external noise or something's manipulating it. And you can actually watch it. It's really cool when you're at an investigation, a haunted location. You can actually watch it. It has a little red light on it, and if you know there's perfect silence, but you can see the seconds advancing, you know you're getting something. Somebody, something is there manipulating the energy in this recorder, all right, to cause it to advance.
So
very cool.
Do you always stay with the recorder?
Do I always what?
Stay with it? You don't just put
No,
it down?
I can put it down, yeah.
And you'll walk away?
Sure. Yeah, take pictures, see if I get different feelings. I'm a little bit sensitive, so see if I get stronger feelings in another location, see if I can, capture something. Then if I feel a definite pull to a location, I can always move my recorder, but let it run. Who knows? They can be anywhere, not in the same place at the same time, but they can be anywhere. That's why I always bring 2 recorders, because it is extremely rare, if almost never, and I've almost never captured the same EVP on 2 separate recorders at the same time. Because this energy, whatever it is, spirit energy, these ghosts, can't manipulate energy in 2 different places at the same time. It's just like, unless you're astral projecting, you can't be in 2 places at the same time. Well, neither can they, all right, as I theorize. If you're going to see a ghost, you're going to see it here, but you're not going to, it's not going to be here and here at the same time. All right, you're going to see it in one location. Then you could see it in another location at a different time. You could capture an EVP in one location. Perhaps the guy says the same thing in another location, but not at the same time. I've never, perhaps Mike has, but I have never captured the same voice on 2 different recorders at the same time. So there's a fact for you.
Very good. Now, as far as creepy locations, what is the creepiest location in the book?
I'd put the Wyndham up there.
Is the creepiest?
I'd put the Wyndham up there. I'd put Fody's up there, you know. But the Wyndham we have had every single time we've been there.
Now, you focused on graveyards in the book as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a few. Yeah.
Any good EVPs in there, or?
Oh, sure. Yeah. This book has, you know, a good graveyard, a very ancient graveyard up in Kittery, Maine.
Yep.
My first book, Spooky, Creepy New England, focused a lot on graveyards. And that one had Hill Cemetery, which I recorded my very famous EVP that's 1 minute and 44 seconds long, the longest one I've ever captured, all right? Unheard of in EVP because they're usually seconds long. But you had a portal open up in this case. So you had many, many spirits pouring in that could all help charge up the energy to make that EVP very long. And that can be heard on the website at all. I mean, you had everybody jumping in, and we actually have a picture of that portal. That's right here in Hudson, New Hampshire, Hills Farm Cemetery. There's something very, and I'm sorry to say spooky, creepy, but that epitomizes spooky, creepy. That cemetery has things going on, and it never, ever fails to yield something. Every single time I go in there, they call me by name in that cemetery, you know? And sometimes Mike and I used to go all the time, and we used to go so often together that perhaps our energies may be intertwined or something. And one time I went there alone, and the spirit went like, God did it. It's Sullivan. And Mike wasn't even there. He wasn't even there. But they thought he was there because our energies were kind of like intermingled. We would just go so often together. Mm-hmm. But you know, cemeteries are notorious for being haunted. I mean, it's just the ambiance of a cemetery, you know? And you've got the legends behind Pine Hill Cemetery, Abel Blood's hand pointing up during the day, pointing down at night. These are all the great urban legends, you know?
Right.
What's sad about this for a serious paranormal researcher like me and a person that appreciates the ambiance of cemeteries, the legacy, these are people's legacies, all right? These beautiful creations and these epitaphs that are on the stones, these beautiful memento moris that are on these stones. And people go in there and vandalize it. Nothing gets me more angry than that.
Yeah, because his finger's missing, right?
Huh?
Someone chipped a finger off his grave.
They broke the whole thing. All that's there now is just a little mound.
Oh,
the
really?
whole stone's gone. The whole stone's gone. But I was fortunate enough in my first book to actually photograph it when it was there. You know? And that just really bothers me because that's our legacy. And yes, they do visit their spots where they're buried even after you're gone. You would want to. Maybe you want to see who goes to see your life or to remember you. All right? And maybe you want to go there. Not that you hang there all the time, but maybe you like to visit. Why not? It's somebody's life. And it just bothers me that people go in there and drink and throw trash everywhere and break stones, and it just bothers me. This is art. It's beautiful, and it's somebody's life, you know? So cemeteries are great places for paranormal investigators, and there's a lot of them, like Gilson Road Cemetery. That's, you know, Vale's End. Those are all Pine Hill. Those are all cemeteries that have great legends behind them, you know? Whether there be truth in it, you know, or whether it be legend, it's fantastical, you know? And Pine Hill, I had a great experience there one time, too. My grandson was with me, and we call ourselves sometimes, because it's me, my kids, and my grandkids, we refer to ourselves as 3G Paranormal, 3 generations of paranormal investigators. And all my kids, you know, even if sometimes if they don't believe everything I say, you know, I have sons that are on the scientific level and stuff. They listen to me, and I like that. And my grandkids, they love it. And I took Connor with me one time, and he was kind of shimmying. He's very athletic. He was shimmying up a tree. And I said, Connor, get down off there. You could fall and get hurt. And I had my EVP recorder running, and I played it back, and there was a man's voice there going, ouch. So, you know, it's kind of like he was listening to what I was saying. You know, if he falls, it's going to be ouch. So a simple word like that, you know, made me to understand he was listening. Sometimes you get that. You get interactive EVP. You can ask a question, they'll answer you back. Sometimes it makes no sense at all. Maybe you turn on your recorder, you're just listening to conversation that might have occurred. Places historic like Gettysburg and, you know, Fort William Henry in New York. You get phenomenal EVP. I was a soldier. You know, we recorded that. I was a soldier. How many people died here? You know, sometimes they'll answer you. Sometimes it'll just be, you know, nothing. You know, doesn't make any sense. It's just something that was said maybe hundreds of years ago. And sound energy goes out there. And you could just be in the right place at the right time for it to play back again. So, I mean, there's so many aspects to this research that if you don't believe that something exists, you know, some form of consciousness, call it what you may, exists beyond this physical plane, then I think you're deluding yourself, you know?
Now, you've been to all the famous places.
A lot of them,
You've
yeah.
been to Alcatraz.
Yep. Slept overnight there.
Are any of those covered? Oh, that's just New England, right?
Yeah,
Just covered
yeah, New England. But the website has them all. The website has Alcatraz. The website has the Presidio. Presidio's phenomenal. They used to use that as a place to wake the soldiers that were killed in battle. There was a waking room there.
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded an EVP one time that said, you know, it's the dock, you know, which would make sense because they would have to, you know, lay them out and make, you know, the doctors would be in and out of there all the time. So we went to also haunted hotels, you know, that are out there, Victorian hotels that are out there, and in San Francisco. But I mean, every place is haunted. If you think about the big picture of it, it's a lot more people have passed away than are here physically now, you know. So what happens? Where are they all? Some are tied to haunted locations, some are not. Some just come and visit our loved ones, give a message, like my dad, the EVP that was used in the movie White Noise, the trailer for the movie White Noise, and an episode of Ghost Adventures. That was my father. That was his voice coming through saying, I love you. You know, and Universal Studios used that. They used that EVP. It was so clear. And, you know, I passed that along to friends of mine that knew my father, and they're going, dear God, Karen, that's Stanley's voice. That's him. The inflection is there. So, you know, it being our telepathy that are projecting these voices on here, that doesn't cut it. Something happens. Something exists there. You know, they're not always available. I know that. You can't turn on your recorder and expect your loved one to answer on cue. Ghosts don't perform like that. You know, they're available or they're not available. In haunted locations, it's probably more prevalent, all right, because certain things, I think, trigger that. Emotional distress, the baggage you carry with you, all right, trauma, unsettled issues, materialism, lust, all these type of things make a spirit a ghost. I guess that's what I want to say. Because I believe that all ghosts are spirits, but not all spirits are ghosts. All right? Not everyone, not all these spirits are tied to a location and can't move on. All right, some of them are just there. They come through. You turn on your recorder. I've had people come through on my recorder. Hello, Karen. They know me. You record a lot. Mike's had EVPs come through that say my whole name, Karen Mossey, Mike Sullivan. All right, they come to know you. They're the communicators. We're the receivers. And in doing this research and dealing with the supernatural and paranormal, I have to tell you, I'm not afraid at all. I'm not afraid. I've had some pretty creepy things happen. I've had imprints on a hotel I stayed in New York. I've had something sit right down on the edge of my bed. My feet went right down. I could see the imprint there, and then I could see it get up. And something gray ran right across the room. I mean, I've had some really phenomenal experiences, but it is so quick when you experience something like this that by the time the subconscious mind, which is the psychic mind, has seen it, the conscious mind is denying it. So it happens really too quick for fear to really settle in. You know, I mean, you may be a little bit jittery, but I can't say, you know, I've been terrified beyond the rational, you know.
Well, you've been doing it for so long, you're almost numb to it.
Well, I personally, I'm not fearful of them. I'm not fearful of them. I fear the living.
Yeah.
I fear the living much more than I do those that are passed on. All right. I just think that if you fear, your fear is what feeds fear. All right. And when you're not fearful of it, then you go in with an open mind. Things may happen to you. You know that shave and a haircut thing there? We did this little jewelry shop in Nashville once. And you'd seen this plenty of times on TV. And, you know, and even as a paranormal investigator, I try to be very skeptical. All right? I eliminate everything that can be rationally explained. I really have to do that. All right? Which leaves me with that which can't be explained. And that's what is you just live for that. All right? But many times, you know, you've seen the, can you knock on the wall in the paranormal shows? Can you do that? Well, I actually had that happen. We actually had that happen to us. And I would say that never can be. It's staged, all right? It's something that's staged because it's being filmed and there's big camera crews and everything around. But we were in this little jewelry shop, and we actually went like this on the ceiling. Bump, 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 bump. And we actually got that bump, bump from upstairs, and we were all in the basement. I mean, we would see, it was phenomenal what was going on in there. That we would see things actually run by us out of the corner of the eye. The beads would move. You'd see something go by. That quick, what was that? All right, I definitely saw something. And the beads would move. The beads would move back and forth.
Where can people look up to get the book?
Oh, this book is available everywhere. The quickest way to get it, if you don't want to drive your car to Barnes & Noble's or whatever, because you can't be guaranteed. I was at Barnes & Noble's a week ago. They had 5 copies of it. And the manager said, you want to make them, you want to sign them? And then we'll put a big sticker on it. It says autographed copy. So I signed all 5 of them. I went back this week. They're gone. They were all sold. So what I recommend is Amazon.com. Amazon's got them. You can order them. Sometimes even have specials going on. You can get them from Schiffer Publishing, who's the publisher of the book. They'll ship it right away for you. Or you can take a chance and, you know, any of your local metaphysical bookstores might have it. Toadstool, Milford, you know, any of those might have it. Circles of Wisdom, Barnes & Noble's, of course, but if you want to just do it right from your house, just order it right on Amazon.com. The links are right up on our website if you need to bring you right to it.
Spooky, Creepy New England 2.
2. Number 2.
And thank you for being here.